In space, no one can hear you scream. That is not only scientifically accurate, but it's one of the best movie slogans of all time. Being one of the best horror movies of all time, Alien has had many sequels, and has had its ups and downs. Since a new one is coming out soon, I think it's time to review the Alien movies. The first one, just called Alien, came out back in 1979. The plot is about a group of people who are piloting a space merchant vessel get a transmission from a nearby planet. They investigate and one of them gets attacked. He later appears to be fine, but later an alien pops out of him, and it becomes a straight up horror movie with the crew members being attacked one by one. Alien is very similar to another movie called It, the Terror from Beyond Space, where in that one an alien is also loose on that ship, but in that one, the alien was a vampire-like Martian from Mars. The alien itself, called a xenomorph, is a very scary creature. The design of the xenomorph was unlike any alien design at that time, and still holds up almost 40 years later. What makes the creature even more deadly is that it bleeds acid, making it more dangerous when it's wounded. The directing is top notch, and Ridley Scott did all the handheld camera work himself. When something is scary, it is legitimately scary. Even when there are moments where I knew the xenomorph was there, I still jumped. With the passengers, you sorta got to know them a little bit, so it's more dramatic when they die. When a facehugger gets on one of them, it falls off shortly after, making a good fake out that he's alright. But when the creature pops out of his chest, it's grotesque. In fact, this scene was so graphic, some people had to leave the theater back in the day because it made them sick. I have an aunt that told me that a past boyfriend of hers did the same exact thing when this movie came out. If I had any problems with this movie, it's that some of the special effects are sort of dated, and so are the computer monitors that are supposed to take place in the future. Overall, Alien is not just a well done science fiction movie, but a great horror movie. I give Alien 3.5 stars out of 4. In the next decade, it would be followed up by Aliens. The person who survived, named Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, wakes up after spending decades in cryogenic sleep. After a colony on that planet that she was on is attacked, she is called to help a group of Marines to help investigate. They get there, things get bad, and they have to survive. Aliens is definitely not just on par with Alien, but it's a really good action movie. It went from one xenomorph to over 100. I really like how Ripley goes from being a scared person in the first movie to being an action star. I also like her character arc with Bishop, played by Lance Henriksen. Ripley does not trust him because he's an android, and judging from the last movie, it's understandable, but it gradually gains her trust throughout time and overcomes her prejudice of it. The one character that sorta steals the show is Private Hudson, played by the late Bill Paxton. He is a cocky and sort of an annoying character, but he does have his moments.
Hey, maybe it's like an ant hive.
Bees, man. Bees have hives.
You know what I mean. Game over, man. It's game over.
My favorite part with him is when Bishop does this fancy knife trick. There are plenty of action scenes in this movie, and the special effects are A grade. The highlight of it all is the reveal of the Xenomorph Queen. It's an amazing achievement in animatronics and puppeteering. Now, if I had one legitimate problem with this movie, it's that there's this businessman character that seems very three-dimensional at first, but it turns out that he's the stereotypical greedy businessman that is overused and way too cliched. Not just a nice follow-up, but a great sci-fi action movie. I give Aliens 3.5 stars out of 4. Next was Alien 3. After the events of the last movie, an egg gets onto the ship and makes it crash. The ship lands on a planet of a colony filled with prisoners. They take Ripley into care and tells her that she is the only survivor. But then it turns out that a dog got hit with a facehugger and another xenomorph is on the loose. Things get worse when Ripley finds out that a xenomorph queen is inside of her and it could hatch at any time. But this does help her from being safe from a xenomorph who does not want to harm his next queen. The problem with Alien 3 is that it's a dull mess. There are so many things in the story that don't make any sense. Like, when did this dog get attacked by a facehugger? Or how did an egg get on the ship to begin with? And so on and so on. The reason why is that there are two different cuts of this movie. Although the director's cut has much better character development, it does have more things that I don't like about it. The main thing is that in the uncut version, the xenomorph comes out of a dead ox. Why an ox? I thought the creature had to be alive for it to work. Speaking of, the special effects are a mixed bag. Sometimes it's cool to see the xenomorph in person, but when it's running, it looks thin and kinda looks like a marionette puppet when it's moving. I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but I won't be able to talk about the next movie if I don't. Ripley decides to not let anyone have the xenomorph queen and kills herself. Alien 3 is a solid step down from the first two. It has two cuts, but neither one makes it a good movie. I give Alien 3 2.5 stars out of 4. After the ending of Alien 3 got a lot of flack from people, the studio made another one with Alien Resurrection. Hundreds of years later, scientists are able to resurrect Ripley with strands from her DNA. She has heightened abilities, but is more crass.
Who do I have to fuck to get off this boat?
The scientists on the ship are studying the xenomorphs, while a crew brings in bodies for experimentation. But the xenomorphs get loose, and it's up to Ripley and a crew to escape. While Alien 3 was not very good because it was a mess, this one is a lot worse for being a nonsensical and stupid action flick. To be honest, this movie had a good premise, but it went about it in the worst ways imaginable. For example, this opening shot is kinda cool, but it's ruined by the CGI bug that looks like it belongs in the first Ice Age movie, and this guy killing it, then shooting it through a straw. What is this doing in an Alien movie? What is more silly is this general that is in command of the ship. He seems more like a parody of a general and not a real one. He even has a ridiculous amount of shoulder hair to match. With the other characters, Ripley was important to the plot, but she really didn't do that much in the stretch of things. I think my favorite character is Ron Perlman's character. He always seems to get the best dialogue and is the most interesting of the bunch.
Fucking waste of ammo. Must be a chick thing.
One character that everyone talks about is Winona Ryder as an android. I don't get why people like the angry video game nerd and the nostalgia critic have criticized her acting in this movie. The other androids in the other movies were a little dull in personality and no one complained about them, but the one thing involving her character that made no damn sense was when she got shot, she falls down and we think that she is dead. But it turns out that she is alive and is an android. But other androids could be decapitated and ripped in half and still be fine, but somehow a bullet to the chest makes her fall down? This happens during the worst part of the movie when Ripley and the crew are trying to escape, and this guy keeps missing this xenomorph. How do they keep missing? He isn't Neo from the Matrix, learn to aim! It's then topped off by Ron Perlman's character getting spooked by a spider. This movie, by the way, was written by Joss Whedon. So between this, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and Atlantis the Lost Empire, this proves that he is not the genius that many people have made him out to be. I know some people would disagree with what I said, but this is the guy who wanted someone to get raped by a rhino. The The good thing I would say about this movie is that the animatronics are really excellent, especially with the xenomorph human hybrid. Besides that, this is just another run-of-the-mill dumb action movie that is as nonsensical as using breath to open doors.
Identification, please.
Alien 3 wasn't that good of a movie, but this one doesn't even feel like any of the other Alien movies from before. I give Alien Resurrection 1.5 stars out of 4. What is interesting is that each Alien movie at this point in time was directed by a different person, but all of them went on to direct really good movies. Ridley Scott went on to Blade Runner and Gladiator, James Cameron went on to Terminator 2 Judgment Day and Titanic, David Fincher went on to Seven and Fight Club, even Jean-Pierre Jeunet, who directed Alien Resurrection, would redeem himself years later with Emile. Well, Ridley Scott would be the first and only director to return to the Alien franchise with Prometheus in 2012. Unlike other Alien movies that were continuations, this one is a prequel. The plot is about archaeologists and scientists theorize that humans were created by aliens, and they pointed out a direction to a planet to be found. People arrive on the planet, they investigate, and things go south. It's pretty typical. The one cardinal sin about Prometheus was that it advertised to answer all the questions from Alien. Although it did provide some answers, such as who were the engineers, what was that ship designed for, and how the xenomorphs got created. But while it did give us some answers, it just left us with more questions than ever before. What I'm about to say is very spoiler heavy, so fast forward to this part if you haven't seen the movie yet. I never understood why the crew did not get info on their mission until they were very close to the planet. Another was the odd reveal of Peter Weyland, played by Guy Pearce, was secretly on the ship. It makes no sense in its secrecy and why he did it in the first place. I don't know what was more idiotic. The fact that these guys got lost in a cave that had a 3D holographic map of it, or this guy thinking that this obviously dangerous creature was somehow cute. The biggest blunder is the engineer's motivation. Everything from what were they exactly running from to why one of them wants to kill humans. I thought it was established that they created humans, so why does one of them want to kill them all of a sudden? With the things I liked about this movie was some of the cast. The highlights of them was Michael Fassbender as the android David and Idris Elba as the captain, but everyone else is average at best. Another was the special effects are really good even today, but this has been a reoccurring problem in Ridley Scott movies in recent years. They had talented people involved in them and had good special effects, but all were lackluster due to a flawed and weak script. Overall, Prometheus is not a mess like Alien 3 or a dumb and silly movie like Alien Resurrection, but it's a confusing movie that felt like it bit off more than it could chew. I give Prometheus 2.5 stars out of 4. So anyway, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe.